Good afternoon, and welcome to a review of the Skills Approach to Leadership section, found in Chapter 5 of the online textbook. So before we go ahead and review the chapter, I want to point out a list of the things that I want to clarify in the Skills Approach to Leadership section. The three things that I want to clarify in this section of the textbook are the differences between skills and competencies, the difference between leadership and production, and I want to give some more examples of human skills. To begin with, the purpose of using the skills approach to leadership is to analyze skills and abilities. And also, something you have to keep in mind is that these skills and abilities can develop and individuals can grow in them. In this leadership model, we do this through two different ways: through analyzing skills and through analyzing competencies. But what's the difference? The difference is that when we're talking about skills, we're talking about what someone else wants a certain leader to have in a certain leadership position. On the other hand, for competencies, we're talking about what someone is already good at. The thing to remember, though, is that both of these sets use very similar terms to describe pretty much the same stuff. Let me explain. So in the skill set, there are technical skills, human skills, and conceptual skills. On the other side of this coin, we have competencies: knowledge, social judgment, and problem solving. So technical skills and being knowledgeable are pretty much the same thing. Having human skills and having good social judgment, pretty much the same thing. And having good conceptual skills and good problem solving, pretty much the same thing. So now I'm going to review the different types of skills. The first skill is the technical skills. These are hard skills or knowledge, how much info you have. This could be anything from having the know-how when it comes to setting up the high ropes or the low ropes, or just knowing how to do math problems. Next, number 2, we have human skills. This is the same thing as having soft skills or good interpersonal skills. This means that you communicate well with other human people and you know how to work well with people. And third, there are conceptual skills. These involve looking at the big picture, having a vision for what you want something to look at, and working well with ideas. And then also being able to implement all of this stuff. Next, we're going to go over competencies. Remember, while skills are something that someone else wants a leader to have in a certain position, competencies are what someone is already good at. So first, we have knowledge. These involve hard skills and information, just like the technical skills of the skill set. Next, and second, there's the social judgment competency. This is more about sociability, people, and soft skills. This is very similar to the human skills. Remember, both the social judgment competency and human skills involve knowing your impact as a person on people and communicating well. And then third, there are the problem solving competency. This involves looking at the big picture to find a solution. And remember, this is pretty much the same thing as having conceptual skills in the skill set. So to review again, what's the difference between skills and competencies? Well, simply said, it's perspective. In skills, it's the perspective of, say, an employer, someone who wants to hire a leader in a certain situation. So they're looking for what skills they want that leader to have. Then, in competencies though, it would be the leader himself looking at what he or she is able to do well. And remember, in this model, people can grow as leaders in both skills and competencies. So with that said, I've cleared up the first thing that I want to clarify, which is the difference between skills and competencies. So with clarification number 1 out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and continue the review and talk about the strengths of the skills approach. So, one of the strengths, of course, as I already mentioned, is that you can develop your skills. So in this case, this approach to leadership is open and people can learn and change within it. Also, this approach to leadership takes into account different leadership situations. Let me show some examples here really quickly. So for example, I'm going to give the military. So, say you're a military general. For technical skills, that's what the T stands for, you're going to have fairly good technical skills, like to know how to communicate with everyone beneath you. Your human skills don't have to be high at all, but your conceptual skills have to be really good because you're the one that designs all the tactics and has the big picture of the war in your mind. Now, on the other hand, if you're, say, a private, your technical skills have to be huge because you have to know how to operate all kinds of weaponry, of course. And of course, your human skills don't have to be high at all, and neither do your conceptual skills. Now, I'm going to give a second example. Say you're in a hospital, and you're the head of the hospital. Your technical skills don't have to be huge, but because you're working with all the employees beneath you, or at least a lot of them, you want to have good human skills. And because you're running the whole place, you need good conceptual skills. On the other hand, say if you're just a pharmacist, not just a pharmacist, but you're a pharmacist, your technical skills have to be pretty huge because you're working with all kinds of medicine. And you don't want to mess it up, of course. Human skills, you're working with doctors, but not too many patients, so your human skills don't have to be huge. And your conceptual skills don't have to be huge. Good. Now that we're done with that, we're going to look at weaknesses. So the main weakness of this leadership approach is defining leadership versus production. So this is where I'm going to dive into clarification number 2. Let me give you an example. Just because you have really good technical skills or you're very knowledgeable in your competency doesn't mean necessarily that you're leading. So say that you're a ditch digger. You know how to dig ditches really well, so therefore your production is high. However, you're not really leading anyone. Now, example number 2. You're a ditch digger, but you're in charge of a team of ditch diggers as seen here by these 3 stick figures. So, not only do you have to dig ditches, which you're already really good at, but you also have to teach these 3 people how to dig ditches well. And because you already know how to do that well, you can lead them well. And with that said, I've clarified the second thing that I wanted to clarify. So then, what happened to clarification number 3? Well, if you remember, clarification number 3 had to do with providing more examples of what human skills or social judgment is. I'm going to further explain clarification number 3 in some video examples, with first, examples from Band of Brothers, and then second, examples from the TV series Scrubs. In Band of Brothers, I'm going to be examining competencies, and there I'll explain social judgment more. And then in Scrubs, I'm going to analyze it using skills, and there I can explain human skills more.
You people are at the position of attention. Private Picante, have you been blousing your trousers over your boots like a paratrooper?
No, sir.
That explained the creases at the bottom.
No excuse, sir.
Volunteering for the parachute infantry is one thing, Picante, but you've got a long way to prove that you belong here. Your weekend pass is revoked. Name?
Lord George.
Dirt in the rear sight aperture. Pass revoked. And I will not take you to war in your condition. Now, thanks to these men and their infractions, every man in the company who had a weekend pass has lost it. Change into your PT gear. We're running Currahee. Never thought I'd see the day, Private Wayne. We are coming on 23 minutes. That may be good enough for the rest of the 506, but that is not good enough for Easy Company. We can do this, come on.
So, now we're going to take a look at the competencies of Captain Sobel from Band of Brothers as shown in these last couple little clips. So, looking at Captain Sobel's competencies, first there's knowledge. I'd say that the captain is pretty knowledgeable because he knows how the military works and he knows what's good and bad about the platoon. Social judgment, maybe not quite as much, because he's pretty mean to the men, which in the military is good, but he could be a little nicer if he wants to motivate them more to do things well. Problem solving, I'd say, is pretty high as well. He sees that the men are out of shape, so to discipline them, he thinks that PT, or physical training, will help discipline them more, and at the same time it gets them fit. Let's take a look at another clip.
Why is there a fence here? There should be no fence here.
Tipper!
Yes, sir. Give me the map. Picani, Luz, get the men, get them, take cover behind those trees.
All right, you heard the word. Let's go. Move it out, fellas.
Move out.
There should be no fence here.
We could go over it, sir.
6833. Isn't that the intersection?
No, sir, it's here. You're full grid off.
So in this clip, we see that Captain Sobel's knowledge isn't quite as high because he doesn't know how to read maps very well and guide his men. Now, his social judgment isn't that high either, because he's not being very confident in commanding his men. His problem solving, then, we don't really see much of in this clip, but I'm going to say it's about medium.
We're in the wrong position. We're in the wrong position.
Textbook position for ambush, sir. I think we should sit tight. Let the enemy team come into our killing zone.
They're right out there somewhere. Let's just get them.
Sir, we have perfect cover here.
Lieutenant, deploy your troops.
Second platoon. Move out. What? Tactical call.
Captain, you've just been killed, along with 95% of your company. Your outfit?
Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 506.
Okay, so in this clip, we see that again Captain Sobel got in the wrong position, which meant that he wasn't very good at reading a map. So he has low knowledge. Social judgment, we don't really see much of, so I'm not even going to say that. Now, problem solving, we see again pretty low, because he definitely didn't do the right thing there in having the men move, and he got them all killed in a training exercise killed. So now that we've seen all those clips, we're going to analyze Captain Sobel's leadership for being someone who's training people, not leading people into battle, but just training. So like we saw in the first couple clips, he knows how to train people pretty well. Even though he doesn't motivate them as much as he could, he still gets them to train. And he's pretty good with getting the people in shape and making sure that they're disciplined. Now we're going to go ahead and analyze Sobel's leadership in battle through competencies. So, like we saw before, he's not very good at reading maps. So we're going to say that his knowledge is very low. And also, because he's not good at reading maps, he's not a very confident leader. So we're going to say his social judgment is low. And also, tactical wise, pretty poor. So we're going to say that his problem solving is also fairly low. So then, if Captain Sobel's looking at his own leadership, he could say that as someone training people, he's pretty good. But in battle, he's not quite so good. He has to develop more knowledge of battle, he has to have better social judgment, and he has to have better problem solving if he wants to get this box checked. And really quickly, before we move on to the next set of clips, we're going to go back to clarification number 3. In this case, we're going to be clarifying some examples of social judgment from Captain Sobel's performance here. So, he's in the military, so his social judgment might not need to be as high as it would be otherwise, because he already has respect from all his men and they will follow his command. But he still wants to motivate them. But now, he is doing this all through negative reinforcement, which in the military works. But you know, if he would also engage in some more positive reinforcement, he could possibly motivate his men even more and get them to do better.
OMG, Barbu, you make me want to LOL. I just discovered text messaging. I know I'm a little late to the game, but...
So now we're gonna, in this really short clip here, we're gonna analyze Dr. Cox's skills from Scrubs. So in this class clip, we saw that he doesn't really have any he doesn't have good technical skills because he's not up to date on his technology, which in a hospital is important. Human skills, he's being a little weird and this could take away from his credibility. And we don't really see examples of conceptual skills, so I'm not going to analyze those now.
Dr. Cox tortured the interns.
All right now, children, I know your shifts are over and you're all excited about going home, but first we're going to play a little game called Answer the Question Correctly or Stay Here Forever. Debbie, what are the neoplastic causes of hyperprolactinemia?
Ectopic tumor production secondary to renal carcinoma.
Close, but no Siggy. You'll be staying here forever. Did you think that was a little too mean?
No?
Wrong. You're staying here forever. You're still staying here forever. My game, my rules.
So now we're going to analyze Dr. Cox overall, as far as it goes as skills when he's a doctor. So his technical skills are pretty high because he knows medicine well, even though he could catch up on technology, so I'm going to put a medium high. Human skills, as we saw, pretty poor, and not very good conceptual skills. So now remember, when we're talking about skills, we're talking about qualities that someone wants someone else to have in a certain position. So say Dr. Cox's boss. As a doctor, Dr. Cox's boss is going to say that he's alright because he has good technical skills to cure people, I guess. He could use some increase in the human skills. As far as it goes, him getting a higher position, not likely because his conceptual skills aren't very good. Let's move on. And again, jumping back to clarification number 3, which in this case, because we're talking about skills, has to do with human skills. So in Dr. Cox's case, his human skills actually work against him because they're not really human skills, they're a lack thereof. When he interacts with people, he does it very strangely, which takes away from his credibility, and people don't like him as much, which means that they won't be as willing to be led by him.
Oh my God, I care so little I almost passed out.
Paired.
Did you do your pre-rounds?
Yes.
Discharge summaries?
Yes.
Pharmacy renewals?
Yes.
Soap notes?
Yes.
Central line changes?
Yes.
Okay, Janet, but...
Okay, so from that clip, we're going to now analyze JD skills, and he is from Script. Okay, so seeing from that, obviously he has good technical skills because he remembered to do all those things. We don't really see human skills or conceptual skills here. Now, really quick, let's jump back to clarification number 2, which was talking about leadership versus production, specifically with technical skills. We see from this clip, JD has really great technical skills, but all he's really doing is producing by getting work done. He's not really doing any leading, here at least.
I guarantee you that's a simple case of cellulitis right there.
Actually, Dr. Cox, I was watching TV last night, and they had this special on flesh-eating bacteria.
Necrotizing fasciitis, yes.
Yeah, point being, they said it was very easy to confuse cellulitis with chompers.
Brilliant! Necrotizing fasciitis. That's a 1 in a million diagnosis, son. 1 in a million.
Nah, nothing, sir. Anyone could have made that call.
And yet...
Okay, so in this clip, we see again that in being a doctor and treating people, JD's technical skills are pretty well, because he corrected Dr. Cox's diagnosis. Now, in correcting Dr. Cox's diagnosis, he was being very nice about it, and he was also humble at the end, which would make him likable, and Dr. Cox would probably be a lot more willing to listen to him. So we'll say he has good human skills. Again, conceptual skills, not really, we can't really analyze it from that video clip.
Make sure the
Check out my man getting his leadership on. First, he hits him with a little preparation.
Are there any more questions about evolving treatment therapies?
Next, inspiration.
Now, I just want you to know you guys all have the potential to be amazing doctors.
And again, really quickly, we're not going to talk about technical skills here. We're going to talk about human conceptual. So human skills, he is being very nice to them and encouraging. And in encouraging them, he's trying to give them more confidence for the future, looking at all the interns as a whole. So we're going to say that he also has good conceptual skills. He has a vision of interns becoming good doctors. And then really quick, we're going to look at JD's skills overall. So like we said before, he has good technical skills in treating people. He knows how to interact very well with people. And frankly, his conceptual skills are pretty good. So we'll say as a doctor, he's good. Now, remember, when we're talking about skills, we're saying if, say, an employer wants to hire JD into a higher position, he's going to look for skills in JD that he wants him to have. So if JD is going to move from being just a doctor to a head of some sort of department in the hospital, he's going to need these skills, and he has them. So I say that he's probably going to get a higher job sometime soon. Let's find out.
I got a job at St. Vincent's. I'm leaving Sacred Heart at the end of the month.
What? How?
Well, I was apologizing to Kim's chief of medicine, Dr. Mantoots.
So, as we just found out, JD actually got a higher position as being the head of the interns at another hospital. So, as being the head, let's see, his technical skills don't need to be quite as high, but of course his human skills need to be high, and his conceptual skills need to be high. We see still though, he has the skills pretty much necessary. You know, he could work on his conceptual skills, but that'll come. They're still pretty good as it is, and I bet that's what got him hired. And really quick, we're going to wrap up with clarification number 3 again. Remember clarification, clarifying examples of human skills. We see that JD, through everything, he's very kind with people, and he's also humble times, and he's also positive when talking to the interns. This is going to score him points and do him well because they're going to want to follow him more, and he's going to lead better because of these human skills.
Anyway, Mantoots and I ended up hitting it off, and he actually offered me the residency director job. It pays a little bit more money, and I'm really liking being closer to Sam, so I took it. As I scanned across their faces, it felt amazing to see how everyone truly felt.
And with that, I think that I've clarified a little more. Human skills or social judgment, so I'm going to go ahead and check that one off. And really quick, let's review the 3 clarifications that I wanted to put forth for this video. So the first one was clarifying the differences between skills and competencies. The second one was clarifying the difference between leadership and production. And remember that this actually involved a weakness of the skills approach to leadership, and then clarification number 3, which involved human skills or social judgment, just putting forth some more examples. With that said, I hope you've enjoyed my production of a review and a supplement material for the skills approach to leadership found in chapter 5 of the online textbook. And Jackson Rickle is your narrator here. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.